What's up? This is Richie from the Where We Wild YouTube channel, and today we're talking about upgrading the hardware on your fishing lures so you catch more fish. We're going to be talking about the best hooks to use, the best split rings, why certain hooks belong on certain baits so they can perform the best they can for you. I'll probably rip a crankbait right out of the box and show you how I upgrade everything. And yeah, man, I just woke up today, wanted to talk about some fishing, so let's get into it, son. So this is what I got going here. This is my little hook upgrade box. You can see what's going on there. You're gonna need a pair of split ring pliers. If you don't have them, I suggest you grab them. I will link some in the video description for you. If you're wondering what this is, by the way, I'll link these in the description as well. These little dry packs here, I keep in all my boxes to keep the moisture out. Really good to have, because this is expensive right here, man. These hooks are not cheap. So, you know, you don't want them rusting up. You don't want any moisture in the box. So first and foremost, let's talk about split rings. Now, there are only two brands that I use: Owner Hyperwire split rings and SPRO power split rings. These are a little thinner than these. These are a little stronger. I use these for my big boy baits, like swim baits, stuff like that. And you're gonna need a bunch of different sizes. Now, the most popular size, probably number 3, right here. Everything will be linked in the description as always. These will be all on Tackle Warehouse, but Owner Hyperwire split rings, that is probably what I use the most for the majority of baits. Sometimes you're gonna have to go up to a size 4, sometimes you're gonna have to go down to a size 2, but 3 is usually the sweet spot as far as split rings go. And then once you get up into some crazy stuff, big boy swim baits, you know, you can get a little nuts, size 6, size 5. I use size 4 the most, I think, for my swim baits. So to start us off there, you're gonna need those. Bait makers, you know, they're trying to save a little money here and there. So they're not gonna put the highest quality split rings and the highest quality hooks on their baits. So when you hook up with a fish, maybe they're not sharp enough to stick the fish right away. Maybe they're not good enough to keep the fish pinned, stuff like that. So any bait I get out of the box, I don't care who makes it, really. Certain companies put some decent stuff on, but for the most part, right out of the box, I'm changing it all up. There's a couple different style of hooks that are going on here that I want to talk about. You got round bends, you got EWGs. EWGs stand for extra wide gap. There's just certain situations where you would want a round bend hook and an EWG hook. Now, the difference between them is a round bend hook. Here, let me pull one out here. Size 4. All right, so right here we got a Gamakatsu EWG hook. And next to it, we will grab a size 4 ST36 by Owner. Now you can see the difference in the bend. One is pointed in a bit more, and the other one is just kind of nice and round. So on the EWG on the left side, you're gonna want that for baits that they're kind of inhaling and they're grabbing the whole bait, and you really want to keep that fish pinned. Like crankbaits, I really prefer the EWG. Lipless cranks, stuff like that. And then on the right side, with that more open round bend, you're gonna want that for baits that they're slapping at. Topwater baits, you know, they're short striking, they're just coming up, like grazing it. You want a much better hookup ratio on baits like that. So the round bends, they give you that better hookup ratio, but they also allow the fish to throw that hook easier. Where the EWG here on the left, that type of hook is gonna be harder to hook up with, but it's gonna be harder for that fish to throw the bait once you do hook up on them, if that makes sense. EWGs are also more weedless, but you know, like I said, the round bends hook you up faster, and an EWG will keep you hooked up longer. So it's kind of like, you kind of just have to dial in for each situation. Top water popper, round bend. Big swim bait, round bend. Lipless crankbait, EWG. Square bill, EWG. And there's a lot of preference here also, all right? You may prefer a round bend on your square bill. I just prefer the EWG, but some days, if they are slapping at it, I will use one with a round bend on it. And I have problems, man. I'll have the same bait and I'll have one with EWGs on it and one with round bends on it, because you just never know. You got to be prepared. I know this is probably overkill for a lot of people, but hooks are the biggest deal on your bait. Hooks and hardware, man. That's the biggest deal. If you don't hook up and you don't keep them hooked, you're not catching the fish. So I don't care how nice your bait looks and how many hits it gets. If you're not landing the fish, what's the point? What are you doing? You know what I mean? And you definitely don't want to lose that big hit. I'll tell you that. That is no fun. So let's just go through some of these hooks real fast, just to kind of give you an example. Now up here, I have all my Owner ST36 hooks, all right? That is one of my favorite hooks, and I put all the little labels in each compartment here, which I find very, very useful, and everything's just nice and organized. So I got them all the way from a 2/0, 1/0, 1, 2, you got a, what is this, 4? Yep, 4, size 5, size 6, size 8. Now the higher the number, the smaller the hook here, and then once you get up past hook size number 1, it starts going 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0. So if you never understood that, that's what's going on there. But Owner ST36, amazing hook, round bend. Owner ST56 hooks are the same as the 36, just a thicker wire. So if you're playing around some big fish, you want an ST56 hook. All right, so you got the ST36, the ST56. I love these Gamakatsu EWGs I got right here. I got Gamakatsu round bends, which I use mostly on my big topwater baits or swim baits. And then probably the best value hook here that I bought the most of, because they are the most affordable and they're great hooks for the price, are these KVD triple grip short shanks. Totally one of my favorite hooks. I use them all the time, especially for crankbaits. They're an EWG style hook. So they got that bent in tip. They're really good at keeping fish pinned, and they got a short shank on them. So what that does is it allows you to, here you could probably see the difference here in the length of that shank. This is so much longer and so much taller. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to put a bigger hook on the bait without overpowering it, without it being like way, way too big for it. So it's just kind of cool to have that. Mustad KVD triple grip short shanks. Awesome hooks, dude. Awesome hooks. And speaking of KVD, let's rip one of these crankbaits out of the box and show you how I'm going to upgrade these hooks right out of the box. I'm probably gonna need some Owner Hyperwire rings. I'm probably gonna go with, these look to me like they are a size 4. Grab 2 of those bad boys. 1, 2. That should be cool. Show you how we do this. Now, another good little tip and a little good tool to trade here is to have a scale like this, because a lot of times baits are so sensitive in how they run, especially like glide baits and jerk baits, stuff like that. You want to make sure that you're upgrading and the weight matches perfect to the stock hooks, because that is how the bait was designed. So some baits like a mega bass jerk bait, really dialed in. You know, you put the wrong hooks on that thing and it's just not gonna run right. And it's the same with like a big glide bait or something like that. If you have the weight wrong, the bait is just not gonna run the way it was designed to run. So what I'll do is I'll whip out that scale, I'll set it on grams, and I'll weigh the split rings with the hook just to make sure that the weight is just dead on. I think these are gonna be good, size 4s. So out of the box here, I'm taking pretty much everything off. You can probably leave that little split ring up front. Sometimes they have those like kind of like oval shaped ones, and like that's fine. You can upgrade that if you want to. Sometimes I do. But you just want to take your split ring pliers, get in here, open up that split ring, and just start taking it off. I can't tell you how many times I hook myself, man, when I, like per week, probably a good half a dozen times, I'll stick myself. These hooks are no joke, man, when you're changing them out. All right, so right out of the box, taking that off. Now this bait, you don't have to be that particular with weight, but just to show you what I mean here, how you want to match up. So, is that all zeroed out? We got 0.7 grams, all right, on the stock hook and ring. .6. Take out my split rings here. I'll just kind of loop it right on the hook there. 0.8. So you're pretty much right there. Now, if this was a Mega Bash jerkbait, no go. It's got to be perfect. 7 and 7. It's got to be perfect. This bait, not a big deal. You could probably even get away with a bigger hook, like a size 2. On this if you really, really wanted to. It's a little big. But yeah, man, you just eyeball it. You know what I mean? See how that's going to look. But with these short shanks, you can get away with that bigger hook. That's what's cool about it. So now you can put the split ring on first, or you can put the split ring on the hook first. It doesn't really matter. Whatever's easier for you. But you do want your hooks to land a certain way. And we'll talk about that in a second. And sometimes that takes a little playing around with, in which case maybe it would be better to put the split ring on first, but we're gonna see how this stuff lands here. Right on the bait. All right, that's sitting perfect. Now you see how that's laying flat right on the belly like that with one hook pointed out? That's what you want for that top hook. You don't want it to be sitting where, you know, it can't sit nice and flush, where that one point is digging into the belly of the bait and then you got the two out. You want that to sit nice and flat up against that bait, just like that. And sometimes you're gonna have to move the hook around on the split ring to achieve that. And then on the back side, let's get that one on, see how she's looking. Nice. All right, on that bottom hook, you want the 2 points to be facing forward and the 1 point in the back. It just helps the bait be a little bit more weedless. That's how I like them anyway. The belly laid nice and flat with 1 point up, and then the bottom hook with those two facing that way, just like that. So that's how easy it is to change your hooks out, man. So you just gotta be careful, make sure they're lined up, and you're ready to rock and roll. All right, so there you go. You got a bunch of different hook styles to choose from, bunch of different brands to choose from. Like I said, owner ST36, owner ST56, Gamakatsu EWG, Gamakatsu round bend, Mustad, KVD, triple grip, short shank. All my favorite hooks, man. They'll all be linked in the video description along with the split rings from Owner and SPRO. Those are the best 2 split rings out there as far as I'm concerned. And it's just a lot of preference. You might prefer one or the other over the ones that I do, but you know, a lot of times, like I said, if it's a bait they're swiping at, you want a round bend. If it's a bait they're just smoking and inhaling the whole thing, you want an EWG. Just always try to remember that round bends give you a better hookup ratio, but the EWGs will help you keep a fish pinned better. So really up to you, man, what you prefer for certain situations, but that's just how I go about it. You can't go wrong with any of those hooks. They're all really, really great quality hooks. And it's the most boring order you can make on Tackle Warehouse, where you're just ordering hooks and stuff, hooks and split rings. Kind of hurts, but it's good to have. They're really good to have. You don't have to go crazy, but for me, I work very hard to get bites where I fish. It is very highly pressured. You're not catching a million fish every time you go out there. So when you do get bit, I just want to make sure that I'm getting that hookup ratio or I'm keeping that fish pinned. It's a big, big deal. And you don't want to end up missing that fish of a lifetime because your hooks weren't good enough to keep them pinned and they jump off, or your hooks weren't good enough to get you hooked up when they first hit it, stuff like that. And you don't want your hooks to bend out, your split rings to bend out. I've seen it happen, man. I've seen it, especially big swim baits, stuff like that. You better have your stuff together when you get one of those bites. You know, big, really good quality split rings and hooks that aren't going to bend out on you. big deal. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Upgrade your hooks, man. Upgrade your hooks. Definitely will land you more fish. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. And if you're into this sort of thing, don't forget to hit subscribe. We put a new video out every single week. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Later. If you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to check out the rest of the Where We Wild YouTube channel, where we post a brand new video every week. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified whenever we post a new adventure. Thanks for watching. See ya.